You know, people, they walk around with these smiles painted on, pretending like everything's just fine. Bills piling up, hearts breaking, dreams dying slow, and still they smile. Because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Pretend, perform, cope. But what if I told you, maybe the problem isn't you? Maybe the world's just loud and cracked and spinning too fast for anyone to keep up. And while you're out there gasping for air, everyone else just says, be strong. Be strong? Yeah. No one tells you where to go when you're drowning. Strength. Everyone wants to be seen as strong. You know the look. Chin up, chest out, like they've got it all figured out. But here's the fun part. They don't. Nobody does. They just pretend better than others. It's this big messy theater and everyone's auditioning for the role of unbreakable. Even when they're falling apart inside, bleeding where no one can see, they walk around acting like the king of the world, because that's what we're taught, right? Show no cracks. Never let them see you sweat. Strength is everything. Weakness? Oh, that's a crime. But let me ask you something. How strong can someone really be in a world that's designed to break you? Bills that suffocate, deadlines that don't care, people who smile to your face while carving into your back. Strength in this world? It's not heroic, it's tragic. Because most of the time what they call strength is just numbness. It's shutting off, not feeling anything. They'll call you resilient while you're rotting from the inside. They'll applaud you for showing up while you're dying slowly behind those eyes. And they'll never stop to ask if you're okay. Oh no, they don't want the truth. The truth's ugly, messy. The truth makes people uncomfortable. So they reward the lie, the performance, the illusion. You get the promotion, the praise, the applause, if you play along. If you keep that mask on tight. You break down, they'll call it drama. You cry, they'll whisper weakness. You collapse, suddenly you're unstable. Isn't that rich? The world kicks you, crushes you, mocks you. And when you finally can't hold it anymore, they say you're the problem. But that's the joke, isn't it? That we're all pretending all the time. Pretending to be stronger than we are. Pretending we're not exhausted. Pretending we didn't hear that voice in our head last night that said maybe it would be better to just disappear. No one talks about it. Everyone thinks they're the only one drowning in this carnival of pain. But look closer. Look past the filters, the forced smiles, the hollow laughs. You'll see it in their eyes. That tired, glassy look. Like someone who's been fighting invisible wars for years. And you know what's really funny? Some people have been strong for so long, they don't even know they're hurting. They've mistaken pain for normal. They've wear trauma like a second skin. It fits, it's familiar. And when you tell them you don't have to carry this alone, they look at you like you've told a joke they don't get. Because they forgot what it means to rest, to breathe, to be held, not judged. Strength has been their identity for so long. They've forgotten who they were before the world demanded they harden up. But here's the twist. Most of them aren't proud of their strength. No, they're tired of it. Tired of always being the one who has to hold it together. Tired of being the strong one in the group. Tired of everyone leaning on them while they stand on shaking legs. And when they finally break, the world gasps in shock. We never saw it coming. Of course you didn't. You weren't looking. You were too busy applauding the act. They say strength is about holding on, but maybe real strength is knowing when to let go. Not in some poetic, glittery way, but in the gritty, desperate, real way. Like admitting you're not okay. Like saying, I need help, without choking on shame. Like sitting in the dark and not trying to light it up with fake positivity. Maybe strength isn't about being the last one standing. Maybe it's just about being honest, even when it makes people uncomfortable. Especially then. Smiles. Oh, those beautiful little lies people stretch across their faces. Bright, white, polished. Like everything's under control. Like they're happy. Like they're alive inside. But you and I both know better, don't we? That smile, that's not a mirror. It doesn't show you what's real. It's a mask, a painted-on grin to keep people from asking questions, from poking around, from seeing the mess beneath the surface. Because God forbid anyone actually tells the truth out loud these days. You ever walk down the street and just watch people? Really watch them. That mother with the stroller who's smiling while her hands tremble. That guy in the suit barking into his phone, acting all important while his shoulders slump like they've been carrying bricks. That girl taking selfies in front of a coffee shop all sparkle and filters while her eyes scream, I haven't slept in 3 nights. To parade. A circus of performers. And the main act? The smile. Always the smile. See, the smile isn't about joy anymore. It's about survival. It's camouflage. It says, don't look too close. Don't ask. Don't care. It's armor. And what's worse, everyone buys it. No one wants to see what's really there. No one wants the truth, because the truth is too heavy. It demands too much. But a smile? A smile is easy. It's convenient. It keeps everything moving, just like the machine wants it. People put that smile on like makeup, like a uniform, like a duty. Wake up, put on your pants, brush your teeth, smile, even when you're screaming inside, especially then, because showing pain, that's dangerous. That's social suicide. People start whispering, backing away, treating you like a bomb with a short fuse. But a smile, that gets you the nods, the how are yous. You're not supposed to answer, honestly. The good to see you from people who never really see you. Smile and they leave you alone. Cry and they cage you. And here's the trick. It's not just other people you lie to with that smile. No. You lie to yourself too. You start to believe that maybe if you smile hard enough, long enough, wide enough, the hurt will just pack up and leave. You try to smile through grief, through failure, through trauma that wrapped itself around your ribs and won't let go. And every time someone says, "You're so strong," that smile gets tighter or brittle. Like glass that's one bad day away from shattering into 1,000 screaming pieces. The real madness? Nobody teaches us how to take the smile off. We're trained in performance, but not in honesty. You get applauded for how well you pretend, not how deeply you feel. No one says, hey, it's okay to not be okay. They say, cheer up, stay positive, smile more. Like your suffering is inconvenient. Like your silence is more comfortable than your truth. And don't even get me started on social media. Oh, that's the altar of the smiling cult. Perfect angles, perfect lighting, perfect lies. Everyone curating their little fairy tale lives, all while quietly falling apart behind the screen. They post their highlight reels and call it reality. But that's the biggest punchline of all, because the more perfect someone looks online, the more you can bet they're losing it in private. But no one posts the breakdowns, the nights on the floor, the panic attacks. No, those don't get likes, those don't trend. It's not just adults either. Even kids are learning this trick now. Little ones who should be laughing for real are already mastering the art of the fake smile. Because they see how the world works, they learn quick, be palatable or be invisible, fit in or be labeled, smile or get silenced. And once they learn that, the mask gets stitched on tight. People don't wear smiles because they're happy. They wear them because the truth is unwelcome. They smile to hide the war inside, because no one really wants to sit with someone else's darkness. No one wants to hear, I'm not okay. They want to show a facade, something pleasant, so you give them that. You give them the grin, the nod, the laugh that's 2 seconds too late. You smile and hope it buys you just enough space to make it through the day without falling apart in public. Chaos. They talk about it like it's some rare event, something that only happens when the sky falls or a bomb goes off or someone loses their mind in public. But that's not chaos. No, chaos isn't rare. It's the background noise. It's the hum in the walls. It's the heartbeat of this so-called normal life everyone's so desperate to protect. The real joke? People act shocked when things go wrong, as if this isn't the default setting, as if order wasn't the mask and chaos wasn't the face underneath. Every morning people wake up to alarms, literal alarms, blaring into their ears, yanking them from dreams they don't remember. That's not peaceful. That's not calm. That's chaos. They spill their coffee, argue in traffic, scroll through disasters on their phones before breakfast. Fires, floods, layoffs, breakups, breakdowns. And yet, they still walk around like everything's stable. They still try to convince themselves that they're in control, like their little routines and calendars can keep the monsters at bay. But those monsters, they live right under the surface. Always hungry, always waiting. Look close at any street, any building, any face, you'll see it. The cracks, the tension, the quiet panic in someone's eyes when they think no one's looking. People are hanging on by threads, and those threads are fraying. But nobody wants to admit that, because if they do, the whole illusion crumbles. The illusion of order, of structure, of peace. This society, this shiny little sandbox, it's not built on peace. It's built on holding everything together just tight enough that it doesn't explode. But sometimes it does. Oh, and when it does, then they act surprised. When someone quits their job without a plan, when a parent screams at their kid in a grocery store, when a friend goes silent for weeks. That's chaos, but not new chaos, not sudden chaos. That's just the mask slipping. That's the truth bubbling up to the surface after being shoved down for years. That's the inevitable finally showing its face. See, the world doesn't run on harmony, it runs on stress. Deadlines, bills, clocks ticking too fast. People are sleep deprived, overstimulated, underpaid, and overmedicated. But they still keep marching, because they think if they stop, everything will fall apart. What they don't realize is it already has. It's just dressed up nicely, wrapped in appointments and responsibilities and motivational posters about pushing through. They build cities on fault lines, literal and emotional, and then wonder why everything shakes. They fill their minds with noise so they don't have to hear the screaming inside. They chase success like it's going to save them from the emptiness, and when it doesn't, they chase harder, faster, more. But you can't outrun chaos. It's already here. It's in the way people flinch at silence, in the way they drink to sleep, in the way they laugh too hard at things that aren't funny. And the most chaotic part, they all think they're alone in it, that they're the broken ones, that everyone else has it figured out. But behind every polished suit, every Instagrammable smile, every I'm fine, there's a storm, just waiting, simmering. Some people get good at hiding it. Others, not so much. And when someone finally crashes, everyone acts like it came out of nowhere, like it wasn't years in the making. But chaos doesn't arrive, it accumulates. Even the systems they trust are chaotic, the justice, the healthcare, the education. Take a closer look. It's not fairness, it's roulette. Who you know, where you're born, what you can afford, spin the wheel, hope for the best. The ones who make it pretend they earned it. The ones who fall get blamed for slipping. And the whole machine keeps spinning, fueled by people pretending they're not terrified. Chaos isn't some big explosion, it's not fire and screaming in the streets, not always. Sometimes chaos is quiet, routine, polite. Sometimes it looks like a man in a meeting nodding along while his chest tightens. A woman making dinner while her thoughts spiral into the void. A teenager staring at the ceiling, wondering if it's all supposed to feel this pointless. That's chaos. The slow, silent kind that eats you from the inside out while you smile for the truth. Now there's a word that makes people twitch. Everyone says they want it. Be honest, they say. Speak your truth. But the second you do, oh, they flinch. Their eyes dart away. Their smiles falter. Because deep down, nobody really wants the truth. They want comfort, predictability, pleasant lies wrapped in polite little packages. You tell them what they want to hear, and they'll love you for it. You show them your scars, your real scars, and suddenly you're too much, too emotional, too intense, too honest. Society's got this clever little trick. It tells you to be yourself, but only if that self is palatable, only if you fit into the box, the clean, smiling, manageable version. You can be sad, but not too sad. Angry, but only in a way that doesn't make others uncomfortable. Step outside those lines, and suddenly you're a problem. Suddenly you're unstable. They don't want your truth, they want your silence, dressed up like strength. It's all performance, a big glittering act. People applauding each other for how well they can hide, for how convincingly they can pretend everything's fine. And the more silent you are about your suffering, the more they call you strong. That's the punchline. They reward you for your silence, then blame you when you finally break. Why didn't you say something? They ask after spending years ignoring the signs. You did say something, just not in words, in the way your hands shook, in the way your eyes avoided theirs, in the way you smiled without joy, laughed without feeling, but they weren't listening. They were waiting for something easy. The truth is messy. It's raw. It doesn't fit into an inspirational quote. It's ugly crying at 2 a.m. It's panic attacks in bathroom stalls. It's telling someone you're not okay and watching their face freeze because they don't know what to do with that information. People say they care, but what they really mean is, be broken. Just don't make it inconvenient for me. Keep it quiet. Keep it neat. And whatever you do, don't make them feel anything real. And so we learn to lie. Not the big lies, the quiet ones, the I'm fine, the just tired. We learn to downplay our pain, to water it down until it's acceptable. We learn to laugh when we want to scream, to nod when we want to collapse. Because being honest, that's a risk, a gamble. It might get you compassion, or it might get you silence, distance, rejection. And after a few rounds of that, you start thinking maybe the lie is safe, maybe silence is smarter. But it's not. It's poison, slow and invisible. It eats you from the inside, and while everyone's busy clapping for how resilient you are, you're shrinking, drowning, screaming inside a glass box that no one wants to look into. And the worst part, you start to believe it's your fault, that maybe you are too much, that maybe your sadness is a burden, your honesty a crime. You start wearing your mask so long, you forget what your real face looks like. The world doesn't reward truth. It rewards performance. Be likable. Be polite. Be quiet. They don't care how much you're hurting as long as you don't make them uncomfortable. And the second you do, they pull away. Because your truth reminds them of their own. And that's what they're really running from. Not you, but the parts of you that reflect the parts of them they've buried. People crave connection, but they fear authenticity. They want to feel seen without having to see anyone else. They want your highlight reel, not your behind the scenes. Smile pretty, say the right things, never admit you're unraveling. That's the game. And if you refuse to play, they call you unstable, difficult, dramatic, because it's easier to label someone than to listen to them, easier to push them away than to sit in the dark with them. And that's the cost of being real in a world built on pretend. Weakness. That's the word they throw at you when you start to feel anything too deeply. When the weight of everything finally crushes your chest and your breath starts to hitch. Boom. You're weak. When you say you're tired, not the kind of tired sleep fixes, but the kind that eats at your bones, they tilt their heads and say, stay strong. Like strength is this magical cure-all. Like you haven't been dragging yourself through fire for years already. They don't see the cost. They just want the performance. See, here's what they won't say out loud. Being exhausted doesn't mean you failed. It means you've been fighting too long without rest. It means you've been putting out fires with your bare hands and smiling while the burns blister. But society doesn't give a words for that. It only applauds when you fake it, when you show up to work dead behind the eyes, when you laugh at jokes that aren't funny just to prove you're still okay, when you act like your world isn't quietly crumbling behind the scenes, and the people around you, they'll cheer you on. They'll call you resilient, strong, a warrior, until the day you finally drop the act. Then they don't know what to do with you. Suddenly the strong one isn't supposed to fall. You're not allowed to break because you've been holding everyone else up for so long. And the moment you stumble, the moment you say, I can't, they look at you like you've betrayed them, like your humanity is a flaw, not a fact. But emotional exhaustion, it's not weakness, it's the body screaming what the mouth couldn't say. It's your system waving a white flag because it's been running on fumes and fake smiles. It's not laziness, it's not drama. It's what happens when the pain has been quietly stacking up for years while you smiled and nodded and said, I'm fine. It's your nervous system breaking down under the pressure of pretending. And still, people want you to push through. They want you to tough it out, to bounce back, because your collapse reminds them they could collapse too. Your vulnerability pokes holes in their fantasy that if they just keep moving fast enough, they'll never fall apart. But life doesn't work that way. No one escapes it untouched. No one's invincible. But God forbid you say that out loud. God forbid you show your crack. You know what's funny? The ones who are the most exhausted, they're usually the ones who kept showing up when no one else did. The ones who said, I'm fine, while cleaning up everyone else's mess. The ones who stayed up late talking people off ledges, then cried alone in the dark. But the world doesn't notice them until they vanish, until they stop responding. Until the lights in their eyes go dim, then suddenly everyone's shocked. But they were always smiling. They were always strong. That's the mask talking, the one they wore to make everyone else feel better. They expect you to keep smiling through the pain, to keep performing even when your insides feel like glass. But when you finally stop, when you sit down and say, no more, they label it a breakdown. They call it failure, as if you haven't already fought battles they'll never see. As if resting, healing, breathing is some kind of crime. But maybe it's not you that's broken. Maybe it's the world that keeps calling survival weakness and silent strength. This obsession with being strong all the time, it's a trap, a trick, a tightrope they make you walk with no safety net, and when you fall, they either look away or blame you for slipping. But exhaustion isn't the enemy. Feeling isn't failure. If anything, the real madness is pretending you're untouched by it all. That's the act. That's the lie. Because life hurts. It pulls and stretches and breaks you in places you didn't even know existed. And pretending that it doesn't just makes the break quieter, slower, harder to crawl out of. Help. That filthy little word nobody wants to say out loud. I need help. Ha. Like admitting that means you've lost. Like it means you've surrendered. You know what they've done? They've made asking for help look like failure. Turned it into a confession. A weakness, a stain, so people suffer in silence, bleed in private, just to avoid uttering those 3 damn words. Because once you say it, you risk being judged, pitied, or worse. Ignored. They hand out slogans like candy. Don't suffer alone. Reach out. You're not alone. But the second someone actually reaches out, silence, awkward glances, excuses. The room goes cold. Because everyone says they care until you give them a piece of your pain. Then they back away like it's contagious. People don't want your problems. They want you to smile and say you're managing. They want a version of you that doesn't bleed on the carpet. And if you show them the mess, suddenly you're too much. But here's the trick. Seeking help isn't weakness. It's the most rebellious thing you can do in a world that teaches you to suffer quietly. They tell you to be independent, self-reliant, a lone wolf. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, even if the boots are full of concrete. And if you collapse under the weight of it all, they ask why you didn't say something sooner. It's a setup. A cruel, clever little game. Be silent and suffer, or speak up and risk rejection. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. People fear vulnerability because it levels the playing field. When you admit you need help, you're forcing the other person to feel, to connect, and connection? That's dangerous. It makes people look inward. It reminds them that they're just as breakable, just as lost. So they avoid it, wrap themselves in platitudes. Stay strong, it'll pass, you've got this. All those empty little phrases that do nothing but shove you further into your own head. The truth? The brutal, beautiful truth? Asking for help is survival. It's standing in the fire and saying, I'm burning. It's refusing to go down quietly. It's saying, I'm not okay, and letting the silence fall like a hammer because you're done pretending. That's not weak, that's honest. And honesty in this fake little world, that's war. They call it bravery when someone fights alone. But they call it brokenness when someone reaches out. Funny, isn't it? They'll romanticize suffering from a distance, but when you show them the real thing up close, they look away. They can watch pain on a screen, in a movie, in a story, but not across the table from them, not in real time, not from someone they know. Because real pain demands something. It demands presence, empathy, and that scares the hell out of people. So we bottle it up, smile a little wider, numb ourselves just enough to function, and deep down we tell ourselves no one would understand anyway. That's the real tragedy. Not that people are hurting, but that they've convinced themselves they deserve to, that they have to go it alone, that needing someone is a flaw. But there's power in saying help. Not the whisper, not the polite version, the raw, cracked version. The kind that comes from your knees, not your mouth. The kind that means you finally dropped the performance, because at some point pretending gets too heavy. The smile doesn't fit anymore, and the silence starts to scream. People think they have to earn support, that they need to reach some breaking point before they're allowed to be seen, but you don't need to collapse to be cared for. You don't have to shatter just to prove you're worth picking up. Sometimes survival isn't about fighting harder. It's about raising your hand when the water's up to your neck and saying I can't swim, and hoping to hell someone hears you before you go under. But even if they don't, saying it still matters, because it means you haven't given in to the lie that you're alone, the lie that your pain is shameful, the lie that asking for help means you failed. It doesn't. It means you're still human in a world that keeps trying to turn people into statues, still breathing in a place that punishes honesty, still trying, even when it would be easier to disappear. Refuge. They make it sound like weakness, don't they? Like if you need a break, you're soft. If you step back, you've given up. If you say, I need a place to breathe, they look at you like you just admitted defeat. But that's not what refuge is. No. Refuge is survival. It's not running away. It's stepping out of the fire before you turn to ash. It's not about giving up. It's about staying alive in a world that keeps trying to bury you under its noise, its pressure, its madness. Everyone's running to work, to obligations, to expectations that were never theirs to carry, smiling while they sink, performing while they bleed, and they tell you to push through, to hustle, to grind, to keep going, even when your soul's screaming for a pause. You ask for space, they say you're isolating. You ask for silence, they say you're isolating. You ask for peace, they tell you life doesn't work that way. But maybe life's not supposed to work the way they've built it. Maybe the machine is broken and we're all just cogs trying not to crack. Refuge isn't about hiding. It's about healing. It's about stepping into a space where you're not being judged, not being watched, not being told how to feel. A place where you can fall apart in peace, where the walls don't ask questions and the air doesn't choke you. Refuge is quiet in a world that never shuts up. It's stillness in a system built on chaos. It's choosing yourself, even when everyone else is too busy choosing their next distraction. And make no mistake, they will call you selfish. They will say you're dramatic. They will guilt you into staying in the fire with them, pretending the heat isn't killing you, because your choice to step away makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them that they too are tired, that they too need rest, but they're too scared to stop. So they point at you, they judge you, because it's easier than looking in the mirror. But what if refuge isn't the weak thing, it's the strongest thing? What if the real strength is in walking away from what's slowly breaking you, even when the world says stay? What if strength isn't gritting your teeth and carrying on? What if it's lying down and saying, I can't carry this today? That's not weakness. That's honesty. And honesty in this world, that's rare. That's power. You see, they've sold us this story, that you're only worthy when you're producing, when you're available, when you're useful. And if you're not those things, you're disposable. So we push ourselves to the edge. No sleep, no rest, no time to think, just go, 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 until something inside snaps. And when it does, they act surprised. Like they didn't watch it happen in slow motion. Like they didn't applaud your self-destruction every step of the way. Refuge is the refusal to play that game. It's the act of rebellion that says, I'm not burning for your comfort anymore. It's drawing a line around your sanity and saying, this is mine. Not to explain, not to justify, just to protect what little piece you've managed to salvage from the wreckage. It could be a room, a park bench, a playlist, a conversation with someone who sees through the mask, or no conversation at all. Just you, breathing, existing, without being required to perform. And no, it won't always be understood. People will call it dramatic. They'll call it a phase. But that's only because they've forgotten how to sit still, how to be alone with themselves without panicking. They've forgotten what it means to feel safe in your own skin. So they keep moving, keep numbing, keep pretending. And when they see you stop, it terrifies them, because it means they might need to stop too, and they're not ready for that truth. You want to know what refuge really is? It's not a weakness. It's not giving up. It's refusing to be consumed. Refusing to be drained by people who only love the version of you that doesn't need anything. Refusing to be another smiling face in a crowd of performers. Refuge is stepping off the stage, taking off the mask, letting the noise die down long enough to hear your own voice again. Not the one that says you should or you must or you owe them, the other one. The quiet one, the one that says, I need this. They always say, you need to fix yourself, like you're a broken toy or a busted machine, like something went wrong in the factory and now it's your job to tighten the screws and replace the parts. Everyone's got advice, don't they? Eat better, sleep more, think positive, go outside, manifest your way to happiness, but none of them ever stop to ask, what exactly are you fixing? Who decided you were broken in the first place? Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe you've been carrying things that were never yours. Pain passed down like a cursed family heirloom. Expectations piled on until your spine bent. Maybe the cracks they see aren't flaws, they're pressure points. The places you had to bend to survive. But people don't want to hear that. No, they want a version of you that's easier to manage, neater, quieter. So they call it healing. But what they really mean is change into something I can understand. You tell someone you're sad and suddenly you're a project. You tell them you're anxious and they want to troubleshoot you like an old computer. They don't want to sit in the dark with you. They want to fix the dark, flip a switch, make it disappear. But you're not a switch. You're not a machine. You're a storm, a story, a mess of memories and scars and survival strategies that make perfect sense when you look at them through the right lens. But they never look, they just prescribe. Everyone's so obsessed with healing, but no one talks about the part where healing hurts, where you sit in silence and face all the things you've been running from, where your body shakes for no reason and your mind screams that you'll never be okay again. That's not weakness. That's the process. That's your system rebooting after years of pretending everything was fine. And still, they say you're broken. They see the crying, the shaking, the shutdowns, and they don't understand that those are signs of life, of trying. They don't want you to be yourself. They want you to be functional, productive, pleasant, smile more, talk less, be grateful, stay strong. They don't care if you're drowning as long as you're quiet about it. But you weren't put here to be convenient. You weren't born to fit someone else's blueprint. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be seen. You need someone to sit beside you and say, I get it, not get over it. You ever notice how they only care when you break out loud? The quiet pain they ignore, the silent spirals, the sleepless nights where you stare at the ceiling wondering what's wrong with you. That doesn't count until it spills, until it becomes visible, and then suddenly everyone's concerned, but not because they care, because it disrupted the illusion, because you stopped playing along. They'll tell you to get better, but better usually just means less inconvenient, less emotional, less honest, less you. They want the version that smiles at parties and answers emails on time and doesn't cry in the middle of the day for no reason. But maybe that version of you was the mask, the costume you wore because the world couldn't handle your truth. And now that you're peeling it off, they panic. But the truth is, healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before they told you to change, before they called your sensitivity a flaw, before they made you ashamed of your tears, your rage, your softness, your silence. You don't need fixing, you need space. Space to fall apart, to scream, to laugh at things that aren't funny. To stop pretending you're okay just so other people can stay comfortable. You are not a problem to solve. You are not a task to complete. You are not a checklist of symptoms and side effects. You are the product of a world that never asked how you were doing until you stopped doing altogether. And even then, their concern is just noise, background chatter in a system that never taught anyone how to love the parts of themselves that didn't shine. Maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe the sadness is valid. The fear is earned. The numbness is a shield you built because life taught you early that feeling too much meant bleeding too often. And now they want to take away your armor and call it growth. But you're not a before and after picture. You're a whole damn painting. Messy, abstract, brilliant in ways they'll never understand.